Welcome to Spill Hood, your plug for raw stories, real talk, and the wildest truths from the streets and the industry. Buckle up, because this one hits deep. The streets of Los Angeles got long memories, and trust me, they never forgive. On Halloween night, 2025, something went down that shook every block in South Central to its core. A moment that ripped open old scars, bringing back the pain, the politics, and the ghosts of LA's most dangerous gang history.
Big U had Nipsey Hussle killed. Everybody know that.
We're talking about the tragic end of Jabari "Baby U Henley, the 34-year-old son of the legendary Eugene Big U Henley Jr., a man whose name still echoes through both the streets and the rap game. But this ain't just another headline about violence in LA. Nah, this one's about karma, revenge, and how the choices of one generation can come crashing down on the next. Because what happened after Jabari's death wasn't just chaos, it was prophecy in motion. The leaked footage, the street confrontations, the way Nipsey Hussle's people reacted, all of it painted a darker story. One dripping with betrayal, loyalty, and the price that comes when the streets call in their debt. At 11:11 p.m. October 31st, 2025, Jabari was spotted outside the Fig and 69 Smoke Shop right at South Figueroa Street and West 69th Street in South Central. And if you know LA, you already know that's no random spot. That's Rollin' 60s Crip territory, the same neighborhood his father was once tied to for decades. This wasn't coincidence. This was history looping back on itself. That was supposed to be his territory, a place where his bloodline guaranteed safety. But on this night, all that street respect vanished in seconds. According to witnesses and official police reports, Jabari was seen walking up to a dark-colored sedan, maybe a Toyota Camry or Honda Accord, when out of nowhere, chaos erupted. Without warning, the driver unleashed a storm of bullets. At least 7 rounds fired from what detectives suspect was a 9mm or .40 caliber semi-automatic. The shots tore through Jabari's body, chest, torso, stomach, arm, and thigh. One after another, no hesitation, no mercy. It wasn't a warning. It was an execution-style hit that left no time to react.
Big U gave wrong information. 30 minutes later, the homies blowing me up like they just killed Nipsey.
Jabari dropped instantly, his body hitting the pavement as people screamed and ran for cover. Blood spread across the sidewalk while panic took over the block. Paramedics and LAPD officers rushed in, doing everything they could. CPR, adrenaline shots, epinephrine, you name it. But despite their efforts, it was too late. Jabari Henley was pronounced passing right there at the scene. The official cause: hemorrhagic shock and a torn pulmonary artery. The kind of injuries that no doctor can save you from, no matter how fast help comes. Meanwhile, the shooter vanished into the darkness like a ghost, leaving behind only shell casings, camera footage, and a crime scene that would soon explode into one of the most haunting investigations LA's ever seen. The story instantly became one of the most talked about cases in recent LA hip-hop history. The LAPD's 77th Street Division jumped on the investigation right away, labeling it a homicide and wasting no time piecing together what went down and why. Detectives combed through every clue. They bagged shell casings, pulled at least 12 surveillance clips from nearby businesses and homes, and started questioning everyone who saw or heard anything that night. Forensics got involved fast. The evidence was rushed to the lab, and full ballistics reports were scheduled for early November 2025. Police even detained 2 persons of interest from Inglewood, but neither had confirmed ties to the Rollin' 60s Crips still. Both were released later without charges, but here's where it gets wild. DNA found on the handle of the suspect's car showed a partial match to someone linked with the Hoover Criminals, a known rival gang that's been feuding with the Rollin' 60s for decades. That single clue flipped the whole narrative. It hinted this wasn't some random street robbery or personal beef. This could have been retaliation, straight gang politics resurfacing after years of silence. Authorities dropped a $50,000 reward for any tip that could lead to the shooter's capture, but so far, nothing solid. The killer's still out there, and the case remains wide open. Detectives are chasing every angle, every whisper, trying to figure out what really sparked this hit. And here's the part that breaks people's hearts. Jabari wasn't even built for the streets.
Man, we just had some super sad news coming out of Los Angeles. It was just reported yesterday that Big U's son, Baby Huey, unfortunately lost his life in the streets of Los Angeles on the night of Halloween.
Born March 15, 1991 in Inglewood, he wasn't the type to live that life, but somehow, the streets found him anyway. Jabari spent most of his life steering clear of the gang chaos that shaped his father's legacy. Yeah, he dipped his toes in music, dropped tracks like Hood, featuring Hoodrich Pablo Juan, pulling in over 150,000 Spotify streams. But his lyrics weren't about flexing violence or promoting gang life. They told stories of survival, struggle, and protecting your own family. That was his message, not destruction. Everyone close to him said the same thing. Jabari was focused, grounded, and trying to do right. He held down a steady job as a warehouse supervisor in Compton, raising his 10-year-old daughter and staying out of street politics. Friends called him solid, a man who knew how the game worked but refused to let it control him. He was building something real, a clean life, a second chance, but the past doesn't let go that easy. See, being Big U's son came with a heavy price. No matter how far Jabari ran from that world, the name Henley carried a target. And on Halloween night, 2025, the life he tried to avoid finally caught up to him, in the most tragic way imaginable. When Big U got the call around 1:30 a.m., November 1st, the pain hit hard. Not just because he lost his son, but because he couldn't even be there. He wasn't free. At that moment, Eugene Big U Henley Jr. was locked inside the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles, sitting behind bars with no bail, facing 43 federal RICO charges that included extortion, fraud, and robbery. The streets were burning, and the man who once ran them was trapped inside, powerless to stop the storm that took his son's life. The case against Big U ran deep. Tax evasion, bank fraud, and even whispers of a takeout or for hire plot tied to the elimination of an up-and-coming rapper in Las Vegas back in 2021. But nothing could have prepared him for the call that came next. According to insiders, Big U got the news through a contraband phone, smuggled inside by Loose Cannon, one of his co-defendants in the federal case, also locked up. And when Loose Cannon broke the words, "Your boy's gone," witnesses said the reaction was something they'd never seen before. The man known for ruling the streets with fear, the same OG who carried himself like nothing could shake him, was crushed. He reportedly broke down, tearing up, whispering, "Not my boy, not like this." For a man who built a career on being untouchable, that moment showed something different. A father in pain, stripped of pride, feeling a loss no power or reputation could ever fix. And the timing couldn't have been worse. Big U's assets were frozen, his legal bills were piling up, and his empire was collapsing piece by piece. Meanwhile, his firstborn son, the one who tried to live right and stay away from the life, was gone, taken by the same streets his father once ruled. A memorial service was scheduled for November 8th, 2025. But Big U's attendance was uncertain, trapped in federal custody with no guarantee of being allowed to go. It was tragedy stacked on top of tragedy. But what happened next made the entire city pause, and not in a good way. Instead of people mourning, Nipsey Hussle's affiliates and a large part of his fan base took to social media, not to grieve, but to mock. They treated Jabari's death like karma, calling it payback, even celebrating it as some kind of divine justice. It was cold, shocking, and showed just how deep the wounds in LA still run.
My nephew, TD, I was looking for artists. TD told me to go get Nip. I went to seek Nip out of all the people I already been interviewing and talking to. And he was the signing light. He was the diamond in a pile of whatever.
Within just 90 minutes of the police scanner chatter leaking about the shooting, social media lit up like wildfire. By sunrise, hashtags like Wild Nipsey Karma, High Justice for Nip, and Just Cost Big Henley were trending across every major platform. Thousands of users jumped in, calling the situation cosmic justice, saying the streets were finally collecting what was owed. Some accused Big U outright, claiming he had a hand in Nipsey Hussle's death, while others called Jabari's takeout a payback from the universe. It was brutal. People weren't showing sympathy. They were cracking jokes, posting laughing emojis, and treating a father losing his son like it was some kind of twisted scoreboard being balanced. You had a few quiet voices pointing out the tragic irony that Jabari died in almost the same way Nipsey did, but those voices were drowned out by waves of mockery. The comment sections were full of people saying things like, "Karma never misses," and "the streets always settle their debts." It wasn't just internet trolls chasing clout. These were real fans, real voices from inside the hip-hop scene. Many of them truly convinced that Big U played a role in what happened to Nipsey. That's why the reaction hit so hard. For years, Big U's name has been caught in whispers and theories surrounding Nipsey's takeout on March 31st, 2019, right outside his Marathon clothing store. And even though Eric Holder Jr. was tried, convicted, and sentenced for the eliminate, the internet already made up its mind. In the court of public opinion, Big U was guilty, no matter what the official verdict said. So when news broke about Jabari's death, it wasn't seen as tragedy. It was framed as payback, a street prophecy finally fulfilled. But to really understand why the web reacted like this, why mourning turned into mockery, you gotta rewind the clock, because this wasn't just another South Central headline. This was history coming full circle. This wasn't just another headline. This was history looping back around. It felt like the ghost of Nipsey Hussle had stepped right back into the picture, pulling old wounds and buried stories back into the light. To really get why Jabari Henley's death exploded the way it did, why Nipsey's crew and fan base flooded social media with karma talk, laughter, and accusations, you gotta rewind the timeline and revisit one of hip-hop's most complicated and painful connections. We're talking about the relationship between Big U and Nipsey Hussle, a bond built on loyalty, ambition, and eventually betrayal. Their story started around 2006 or 2007, when Nipsey was just a hungry young rapper trying to make a name in the brutal Los Angeles music scene. Back then, he wasn't a global icon yet, just a kid from Crenshaw with drive, talent, and a dream. Meanwhile, Big U was already a name that commanded fear and respect. A Rollin' 60s Crip OG who had climbed out of the street trenches and was building himself up as a businessman. He saw something powerful in Nipsey, something real. So he took him in, gave him studio time, a roof over his head, and most importantly, guidance on how to move smart in a city that eats its own. Big U schooled Nipsey on real estate, on ownership, and how to stay 10 steps ahead in an industry that chews artists up. It was more than mentorship. It was a street bond, a partnership that blurred the line between family and business. But like every story in LA's underworld, once power, money, and fame got involved, that bond wouldn't stay pure forever.
And Nipsey Hussle killed. Everybody know that. Everybody know Big U, Nip called and hit. They was really jealous of Nipsey Hussle, homie. All the big homies in the set was jealous of Nip, because all the young love Nip. So Nip had got bigger than the set, cuz. Ain't nobody bigger than the set.
Back in 2009, Big U locked in a 10-year management deal with Nipsey under his label, UN Unique Music, a move that would shape both their futures in ways nobody saw coming. The deal gave Big U major control over Nipsey's career and money flow. According to Big U himself, the contract included 10 to 25% of Nipsey's publishing rights through his company, AIM Assist Entertainment, meaning every song, every deal, every move ran through him. On paper, it looked like a win-win situation. Big U would bring the connections, protection, and game knowledge, while Nipsey focused on his craft, building his name and turning talent into legacy. And in those early days, their bond ran deep. Big U saw Nipsey as a little brother, even called him a son in spirit in multiple interviews. It wasn't just business, it was family. Big U's presence gave Nipsey something priceless, safe passage across LA's wild landscape. His OG status meant Nip could move through rival neighborhoods, perform at clubs, and grow his brand without constant fear of violence or politics. In a city where crossing the wrong block could end your career or your life, that backing meant everything. But the higher Nipsey climbed, the more cracks started showing. As his star rose nationally, his independent empire started booming. From his marathon clothing store to his smart real estate plays, Nipsey became his own boss. And by 2018, as that 10-year contract neared its end, Nipsey was ready to cut ties and take full control. He didn't need anyone taking big percentages anymore. He had built his own lane, created his own network, and learned the business inside out. The old mentor-protege dynamic that once worked so well started to feel different. More like control than guidance, more like a contract than a brotherhood. What started as partnership built on loyalty was now turning into tension fueled by money, pride, and power, and everyone around them could feel it. By 2018, that deal started feeling less like guidance and more like a chain holding Nipsey back from his full potential. And this is where things start getting dark, where rumors, paperwork, and street whispers begin to blur the line between truth and conspiracy. According to federal wiretaps and court documents tied to Big U's 2025 RICO case, investigators uncovered evidence suggesting that Big U's operation wasn't just about music or mentorship. It was about money and control. They claim he was running a large-scale extortion network that targeted not only businesses and entertainers, but even his own artists. That so-called protection Big U offered came with a price tag, and those who didn't pay, they allegedly got hit with threats, intimidation, or worse. It was the same old street code. Loyalty paid in full or you face the consequences. One of the loudest voices to speak on it has been Charleston White, a controversial commentator known for shaking the internet with wild claims. He's repeatedly said that Big U tried to extort Nipsey Hussle, demanding money for ongoing protection as Nipsey's fame and business empire started blowing up. Now, Charleston's not exactly known for being a reliable source. He thrives off drama and attention. But here's the thing. Others in LA's hip-hop circle have whispered similar stories. Multiple insiders have hinted that behind all the motivational talk and brotherhood branding, there was real tension brewing between Nipsey and Big U, rooted in money, power, and the cost of staying safe in LA. So maybe Charleston exaggerated for clicks, but even with his loud mouth, his claims hit nerves because too many people have said the same thing in quieter rooms.
And I'm on a phone, he FaceTime me. So he FaceTime me and stuff like that. He was like, Nipsey just got killed. I'm like, sick, so I didn't hear that. So I hang up with him. I called Nipsey and I'm like, Nipsey, what's up? He was like, oh, what's up with it?
Nipsey answered.
Nipsey answered. But after I talked to Nipsey and I was like, yeah, I love you, cuz, or whatever like that. I'll see you later or whatever. So I hung up the phone. I thought Big U gave wrong information. 30 minutes later, the homies blowing me up like they just killed Nipsey.
The theory that Charleston White and others keep pushing paints a dark picture, one that says as Nipsey Hussle rose higher, becoming more respected, more loved, and more powerful in the community, the old guard, including Big U, started feeling the pressure. In the world of gangs, there's one unspoken law. No one is supposed to outshine the set. You can be successful, sure, but you're never meant to be bigger than the gang, bigger than the code, or bigger than the name that raised you. And according to this theory, Nipsey broke that rule. He became more famous, more respected, and more influential than even the Rollin 60s themselves, and that didn't sit right with everybody. By late 2018, the bond between Big U and Nipsey was cracked beyond repair. What once looked like mentorship turned into pure tension, a clash of pride, power, and territory. It all exploded during a confrontation that went down in a Crenshaw parking lot, an incident that's now part of LA street legend. The story goes that Nipsey had recorded a diss track aimed straight at Big U, a record where he allegedly called him a scrapper, not a rapper, basically questioning his street credibility and music game. It wasn't just a song, it was a statement. In the middle of their messy business fallout, this diss was seen as a full-blown challenge to Big U's status, something that doesn't fly in street politics. According to multiple accounts, Big U confronted Nipsey and his brother Samuel Black Sam Asghedom about the track and the growing gang-related tension around it. Things got heated fast. Words turned to shoves, then to punches, and witnesses say Big U physically assaulted both brothers. The chaos reached a breaking point when Black Sam reportedly pulled a gun and fired in self-defense. LAPD swarmed the scene within minutes, arresting Sam and locking the area down. No one was hit, but that single moment changed everything. From that day forward, their relationship was done. The loyalty was gone, the respect shattered, and the streets of Crenshaw were never the same again. That Crenshaw parking lot brawl wasn't just another fight. It was the moment the bridge between Big U and Nipsey Hussle completely burned down. What went down that day had nothing to do with just music or money. Now, it ran way deeper than contracts or record deals. At its core, it was about respect, pride, and power. To Big U, an OG in the Rollin 60s, loyalty meant everything. When he helped someone rise, he expected that same loyalty to circle back. But Nipsey wasn't about to bow down to the old rules anymore. His decision to walk away from Big U's label after their contract expired and then drop that diss track was seen as straight-up disrespect, a public betrayal from someone Big U once called family. Even though reports claimed they eventually squashed the beef, the streets never really believed it. Big U went on interviews talking peaceful, saying there was no bad blood, even showing love for Nipsey after his passing. But behind the scenes, things didn't sound so clean. Federal wiretaps from 2023 told a darker story. Recordings of Big U bragging that he was bigger than Nipsey and threatening to deal with anyone who disrespected him. He even talked about disciplining Nipsey, making it sound less like a business fallout and more like a street punishment, a form of internal enforcement meant to remind everyone who still held the crown. Then came the day that froze Los Angeles in time, the day everything changed forever. The mentor turned into a suspect and the student became a legend. On March 31st, 2019, outside his Marathon clothing store in South LA, Nipsey Hussle was shot multiple times, hit at least 10 times, before being pronounced assing at a nearby hospital. That moment didn't just end a life, it cracked open a mystery that would haunt the city for years. Because from that day forward, people didn't just mourn Nipsey, they started asking questions about who really wanted him gone, and why.
Also, something else that didn't make sense to me, the hit didn't make sense to me because who takes this girl on a hit? And who goes, if you're going to go do a hit, if it is a hit, if you're going to go do a hit, who goes to confront the guy? He already know, I'm finna do this dude. Who goes to confront the guy, leave, and then come?
The man behind the trigger was soon identified as Eric Shitty Cuz Holder Jr., another member of the Rollin 60s Crips, the same neighborhood Nipsey repped with pride. In 2022, Holder was officially convicted of Nipsey Hussle's wipeout and sentenced to 60 years to life in prison. According to the official story, it all started when Holder confronted Nipsey about street rumors, whispers that he had snitched or cooperated with law enforcement. The two exchanged words outside the Marathon clothing store, and moments later, Holder allegedly walked back to his car, loaded his weapon, returned, and opened fire, hitting Nipsey multiple times before fleeing the scene. That's the version the court accepted. Case closed, right? Not even close. Because as soon as the news broke, the internet went into overdrive, and the conspiracy floodgates burst wide open. Rumors started flying that there was more to Nipsey's death than a heated argument. People began connecting dots, claiming it wasn't just a neighborhood beef, it was something planned, something deeper. And then came the bombshell that flipped the narrative on its head. Loose Cannon, a known associate of Big U, and later indicted alongside him in the federal RICO case, dropped a claim that left jaws on the floor. In a viral interview, he said Big U called him 30 minutes before Nipsey's death, telling him that Nipsey had just been eliminated. But here's the twist. At that exact time, Nipsey was still alive. Now, if Loose Cannon's story holds even a shred of truth, and that's a big if, considering he's got his own federal problems and reasons to talk, it suggests Big U might have known about the hit before it happened. That claim alone reignited every old rumor, every dark whisper that had followed Nipsey's name since 2019. Turning what should have been closure into another storm of suspicion, betrayal, and unanswered questions. The implications were chilling, that Big U might have known what was coming, maybe even helped set it up. This theory only grew stronger when people started piecing together the timing, the unresolved tension between him and Nipsey, and the pattern of violence that prosecutors later tied to Big U's criminal network.
Believe me, like I say, this case was investigated by the highest level of the branch. That man got a letter from the president.
Well, I know for a fact if they could get you, they'd get you.
And they
if they thought for a second that you had something to do with it and they could prove it, you out of here.
Once again, Charleston White jumped straight into the chaos, pushing the claim to the extreme. He outright accused Big U of ordering the hit on Nipsey Hussle, framing it as a jealousy-fueled execution. Charleston said the old guard inside the Rollin' 60s couldn't handle seeing Nipsey rise higher than the gang itself. More respected, more loved, more influential than the name that birthed him. But Charleston wasn't the only one pointing fingers. Former Death Row Records artist Halcia SKG Choice also came forward, accusing Big U of arranging Nipsey's wipeout. She said his track record spoke for itself. Years of extortion, intimidation, and violent control tactics. SKG even claimed she'd witnessed Big U physically assault people in front of Nipsey, saying his aggression and dominance made him more than capable of such an act. These weren't just internet rumors from outsiders. These were first-hand accounts coming from people who had allegedly seen Big U's methods up close. And when stories like that line up, the streets start believing something must be real. But Big U wasn't about to stay silent. He's vehemently denied any role in Nipsey's death, firing back hard in multiple interviews, and even sending cease and desist letters to outlets like No Jumper, warning them not to spread false and dangerous claims. He called the rumors lies meant to destroy his name, saying people were clout chasing off Tragedy. Still, despite all the denials, suspicions refused to die down. And in one rare, detailed sit-down interview, Big U finally told his version of what really happened. And the way he broke it down only raised more questions than it answered. Big U's defense actually sounded surprisingly logical once he broke it down. He argued that Eric Holder's actions the day Nipsey was eliminated didn't fit the profile of a professional hit at all. And when you really look at it, he's got a point. Holder showed up with his girlfriend that day, something no serious hitman would ever do. He even talked to Nipsey face-to-face before the shooting, then walked off to grab food from Master Burger like it was just another afternoon. Minutes later, he came back and pulled the trigger. That's not how professional setups go. Real contract hits are quick, clean, and silent, not filled with small talk and snack breaks. Big U also reminded everyone that the FBI had already dug deep into Nipsey's wipeout during their broader investigation into Los Angeles gang activity. And if there was any evidence at all tying him to that elimination, it would have shown up in the massive 43-count RICO indictment they dropped on him in 2025. That indictment listed everything from takeout, fraud, and extortion to human trafficking and racketeering, including the 2021 elimination of aspiring rapper Rayshawn Williams. The feds threw the entire book at him, so if they had anything solid linking him to Nipsey's death, they would have added it instantly. The fact that they didn't might actually speak louder than all the rumors combined. Still, the damage was already done. The internet doesn't wait for proof. Once those conspiracy theories caught fire, Big U's reputation took a massive hit. The man who once held influence in both the streets and the industry suddenly became one of its most controversial figures. Reports say he lost major sponsorships and saw business deals collapse overnight, including a rumored $3 million Adidas partnership that was allegedly being arranged through Kanye West's connections. Years of building power and credibility went up in smoke, all because the public couldn't shake the idea that he might have had blood on his hands. Whether the theories hold truth or not, one thing's clear. The whispers alone were enough to ruin everything he built. Whether those allegations hold truth or not, the conspiracy theories surrounding Big U and Nipsey Hussle's death completely shattered his career and reputation. The fallout was brutal. Sponsorships gone, partnerships passing, and an industry that once respected him now keeping its distance. Reports say he lost major deals, including a rumored $3 million Adidas contract that was supposedly being brokered through Kanye West himself. As the rumor snowballed, Big U found himself isolated, abandoned by people who once called him family and OG. Nobody wanted to be tied to someone accused, even without proof, of something that heavy. In the months after Nipsey's death, Big U tried to clean up his image. He helped organize unity marches, delivered emotional speeches, and even helped raise funds for Nipsey's family. For a moment, it looked like he was rebuilding bridges. But as the conspiracy theories grew louder, that small redemption arc vanished. The court of public opinion had already decided his fate. In hip-hop, especially where street politics and legacy collide, perception always hits harder than truth. Once people believe a story, it doesn't matter what the paperwork says, your name's already marked. And that's what brings everything full circle. Straight back to Halloween night, 2025. When Big U's son, Jabari Henley, was gunned down in South Los Angeles under eerily similar circumstances to how Nipsey Hussle died 6 years earlier. Both men were shot multiple times, both were connected to the Rollins 60s, and both deaths ignited massive waves of speculation about fate, karma, and the streets finally collecting what was owed. The parallels were too strong to ignore. 2 lives, 2 legacies, both ending in tragedy tied to the same streets, the same rumors, and the same ghosts that never stop haunting Los Angeles. If you made it this far, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Spillhood for more deep dives into the raw stories and untold truths shaking the culture. Stay tuned. The next one's about to get even wilder.